What needs to be done to make the youth concerns a part of the dominant narrative in our continent? And to discuss this, we're joined by Martha Shumba, the chairperson of the Organization of African Youth. A very good morning to you, ladies, and thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Morning.
Happy Africa Day.
How are you? Morning. Same to you.
All right, I'm going to start with you. How do we achieve the Africa that we want?
It is possible to create a better Africa for all by uniting. I'm not talking about one or two people uniting the whole continent. Whether you are black, white, or yellow, we have to come together. We must forget about race. We must forget about tribe. We must just come together as one to build the Africa that we need. Because each one of us possesses something, a skill that can actually push Africa to where we want it to be.
Okay. Now, speaking of the youth, how do the youth come into the picture? How do they play into this equation of achieving the Africa that you want? I mean, we see cases of a great apathy within the youth when it comes to politics and making decisions that will change the lives of everybody in their societies. Youth are not interested in politics. How do we change that narrative?
We change that by actually more inspiring them. Our leaders have to lead by example. For a young person sitting in some rural Africa, you have to see change from leadership, and also including one of our own. Because most of African governments are occupied by the older generation. We want young people to be part of that. And if we see one of us, pushing on decision making in government, we are inspired to vote. We are inspired to actually be part of, a collective form that can actually create a better Africa.
And how then does Africa achieve a sustainable industrial development, particularly involving the youth? Do you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, I will just add on what she's saying. We need all of us to come together, like I said before, because our economic situation is not really something that we can be proud of. And as governments, they should include business people. Okay. Business-minded people, entrepreneurship programs, so that we can actually, go to where we want to be.
Agriculture is often said to be the unexplored gold mine. How do we get the youth, how do we attract them to this sector? With
Organization of African Youth, we have started a program on food growing projects, where we teach young people from a very young age, from as little as primary schools, to grow their own food. Because agriculture is what we need. Most of African communities have land, but they don't know how to use it. They don't have the resources. So we have come together to put resources, trainers who can teach these young people to grow their own food.
Fair enough, but then how do we get them interested in this particular sector? How do we glamorize it, as it were?
We make it exciting. For example, during that period of training them to grow their own food, there should be activities that engage them. For example, after that we go for soccer practice, so that they can feel that we are young people and we can do this.
Do you think we should have a united government and a united currency? All right, your thoughts?
My thoughts is that it's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. It's doable, but it's going to take time. As we have witnessed the xenophobic attacks here and in other countries, it's something that we have to really come together to eradicate it by using social integration for starters. I've noticed that a lot of foreign nationals who come here, they choose to stay on their own, like we are our own people. That itself, it doesn't help in social integration. We have to come together to say, I am not just a Congolese, I'm not just a Zimbabwean, but I am an African. And if we can start there with social integration on grassroots levels, we can reach where we want to be. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take a shift of mindset. Of just seeing a human being before color, seeing a human being before language. And if it was up to me, I would think we should create our own language. Just one that will understand one another. A human language, not a Zulu language, not a Xhosa language.
That's possible. It is a reality. But then that can be underpinned by unity, which we're not seeing on the African continent. I mean, we see the unresolved case of the Chibok girls that have been abducted by Boko Haram in Nigeria in 2014. There's sporadic xenophobic attacks against foreigners in South Africa. Then there's attacks on non-Islam Africans in Islam countries. I mean, that leaves a void when it comes to unity. We certainly cannot proceed with the fight against terrorism if we're not united, can we?
I agree to that. And I think as organizations, individuals, business people, government, we need to come together to address this kind of issues. Because I once spoke to somebody who said, you know, we are territorial. So to wake up one day and you find, let's just say, somebody speaking a foreign language in your backyard, and the government never explained what's happening, because usually they know why foreigners are here, but they're not addressing such issues. They're not talking about it. The girls in Nigeria, it's now a closed case from where I'm standing. And the government, the Nigerian government, maybe they know what's happening, but they cannot tell the whole world. So how do we come together if there are certain people who keep quiet about certain issues? How do we solve that situation? It's not easy. Because when I look at Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, Nigerians who come to South Africa, they don't just wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna be in South Africa. No. Obviously, there was an agreement somewhere, and those people have to be involved. And we need to educate the local people, you know, why these people are here. And as a foreign national, you have to at least tell your story so that people can understand you. Because some people were raped, some people are political victims, but local people, they don't know it. They just know that I don't have a job because somebody who speaks a foreign language is here.
Yeah.
So humanize it.
Okay. Now, Martha is making an insinuation of transparency, or rather the lack of it, in terms of governance in Africa. And I often say that every leader, every politician, every public office bearer should be held fully accountable with their feet firmly on fire, and the fire in this instance being the Constitution. But when we see issues of the Constitution being raped by African leaders, I mean, we see, for instance, in Burundi, President Pierre Nkurunziza getting an unconstitutional third term in office. If the Constitution is one document that guides the path that all African nations should take, is being compromised. Where to from here? I hate indulging myself in rhetoric. I mean, what we're doing now is we're diagnosing the problem. This is where it starts, but then there's no treatment. How do we fight the scourge of youth not being taken seriously and of youth of not using the opportunities to change their lives?
I think for now, what we need to do is, as youth, come together and get involved. Whether the government give us a platform or not. We have formed the social movements, for example, my organization, the Organization of African Youth. We have a lot of projects and workshops that inspire and motivate young people. Recently, we've partnered with a company called ID-based software to teach them business intelligence using data analysis. It is something that we as Africa, we should really think about. And we do those free workshops. So it doesn't need to have the government's input with regards to that. And we have also issues of albino killings. We have come together as young people, and on the 30th, we also have a march on Pretoria to the Union buildings, so that the whole of Africa should engage in this kind of get-togethers to voice our concerns, to voice our challenges, so that there will be a solution. If we are not doing anything and sit and wait and say the government should implement, you know, I don't know, a memorandum that says don't do this, don't do that, we'll wait forever. And we're the future leaders. By the time we reach that stage of taking over governments, what do we have? What experience do we have?
You've mentioned data analytics in the innovation and technology space. How do we then, how do we keep up with the global standards?
It's something that we have to engage, and we don't have much time, because here in Africa, I think we've been doing things the traditional way, and it is time for us to actually involve ourselves in information and technology to actually reach the global standards. We have to move with the times.
In closing, Martha, how then do we embrace Pan-Africanism as Africans as we celebrate this day?
As we celebrate this day, my message is that we need to unite. Coming together as one as Africa, like I've said before, no race, no color, no tribe, just be human, a human being in Africa. That's how we can embrace it, with love, you know, and if you know something that I don't know, let's share so that we can build Africa. Let's forget everything else. Let's just live our purpose as one.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank
It was
you.
such a beautiful and brilliant conversation. That was Gugu Silela, an academic in international relations, and Martha Shumba, the chairperson of the Organization of African Youth.